Yes.
There's a family one. Well, these are blokes in the... This was the
Point to people.
the Christmas party. You know, you can see that fir tree in the background. These are just people who were acting in the office. But the only people that were to which I'm related, of course, that was Pam, and there's me looking half cut, which I was. How I got back 8 miles to the cottage, and it was just in a mist. I got back. Came into the office, and she's wearing these boots, and I just said it came from outer space. This my early days, yeah. What was that one? Yes, we were stuck for space there. We were on a line, so I suggested everybody could sit in everybody else's lap, you know.
So this is the drawing.
Yogi
drawing
Bear,
office.
that was a chap that assisted the boss.
Yeah.
But he used to bounce in the office. Some said he hadn't tucked his shirt in, beneath the loo, and his shirt was out like that. We used to call him Yogi Bear.
What company was this?
This was Denko Miller in Hereford.
Denko.
I did
air
that,
conditioning.
until I got to, I got into actually land surveying or something like that, and after that I never looked back. I finished up with the Water Authority. It was Bert, he said that nobody attended the amateur football matches at Forest Dean. They're too busy staying at home watching on the television. So I did in this sketch, away with the goggle box, this is free. You know, about picking up. This is early days. And he talked about having a bath. When he had a bath on Saturday night, Bert, you know, he's a real countryman. He sat in the bath in front of the television, you know, it's always cowboys there. And I imagine his kids there, you know, about to make him jump. That one, I can tell when they've had enough, you know.
And enough
silly things, really. He got that way, I was doing so many cartoons, the boss came to me and said, would I do one for him? And he had a rep who was always on the phone, a bloke called Ross. And then he said, this rep was going to have an operation on a ganglion on his wrist. Could I do something? So I imagine him being, you know, got a carving knife, about to cut this ganglion out. And the nurse has said, I mean, that dates it, that way that nurse is drawn. The nurse has said, it's for you, Ross.
Always on the phone.
And Audrey in the office, she had a crush on him because he wore his good suit and so on, this particular rep this was. And I said, yeah, it's all very well, he looks like that now, you know. It was a time when he wore Winklepicker shoes. There she is loving him. And I said, imagine if he goes to bed with you sort of thing, sits side of the bed, and he throws off his clothes and his corset. He'd be all like this.
And his tummy hangs out.
Yes, he's sitting there, look quite erotically, yeah. She had a crush on me, I think, because she used to come and talk to me all the time. She was married, but her husband, she wasn't very pleased with him. And she described one night, he used to spend an evening, instead of helping her in the kitchen and like that, he'd be reading a newspaper. And once she got so maddened by it, she took the knife and put it under his paper and went like that. You imagine it? The bloke was laying there with a pot, imagine with a pot. He ripped the newspaper in half. Then there was going to be a firm stance, and there was a Tom Greenwood, one of the staff, and she worried about him because he was looking at her with lustful eyes. So imagine him doing a dance, you know, Tom Greenwood. You know, he's got his hand on her bum. That was her. That's how she used to look.
Looks like Myra Hindley.
Yeah, except she smiled. And she said, she knew I'd done this drawing. She came up and she said, can I see it? I said, no, you'd screw it up. She said, no, I won't. So I showed it to her and she put it on the floor. She hadn't screwed it up, you see. She just done what she said.
Wasn't happy with it.
And then there was trouble because they objected to these high heels. So imagine there was the boss there. I imagine that if she wore these high heels with gum boots, you know, she'd be executed. Crazy, that was a silly thing. Somebody said something about somebody was a ham-footed pig, and I tried to imagine it. And Bill Woodward. I went to work for this small firm, Knight Frank and Rutley they were then. Now it's Knight Frank, isn't it? And he was the first, I shared an office with him. He was rich as Croesus. And he used to turn up in a Volvo, beautiful yellow Volvo like that. And the bloke under whom we were immediately working only had a little Mini. So we turned up to a site, you know, to measure up farm or something. And he turned up in a Volvo, and then the boss turned up, yeah. And he turned up in this, I imagine him at the wedding. He got married at Belmont Abbey. You've heard of Belmont Abbey, have you? And of course they turned up in their, you know, those lovely coats they had then. Imagine him in the props department, you know, with a
always be home.
It's a, hurry it up, Abby, I've left the Volvo running. That was the sort of thing I drew then. I was quite pleased with that. When
Yeah,
if ever there was a bloke like Bill Sykes, I joined the Water Authority by now.
And I'm resisting putting on trousers as long as I can.
So this is
That was
Tim
him.
Rock,
He actually had a profile, and he was quite most gentle of fellows.
Wessex
He had
Water.
his lovely head. You know,
That was
most-
Wessex, was it?
And what?
Wessex Water?
No, Welsh Water Authority.
West Water Authority. Yeah.
And he's still paying me a pension. This is what worries me, Jess. It's on my conscience. I was there 7 years, and then when I had Valerie, I left. So I could look after her.
But they're still paying
and
you a
Rosalind
pension.
could go out and, you know, be a midwife.
He was actually in hospital.
Yeah, I know.
That was if he just,
Yeah, you've been taken in, wasn't
he
it?
broke his leg or something, and I just imagine him. I forgive him for stealing my parrot. You know, he looked like John Long John Silver. Must have keep using my crutch to open the bloody windows. Oh, that was something. We used to go down into the this was a test one. We used to go down the sewers. There's all sorts of things. I used to enjoy these little local details. But the men on site, they did remark they liked it because I used to draw little pigs and things like that, which are sort of irrelevant. I like that little spot, a land float. Oh, and one of the lads, he was going to get married, so he was going to make a coat. I wanted to make him a coat of arms. The things he was interested in: football, being tearaway, women,
You know, from where she used to work.
falling up with policemen, you know, and drawing things. So I made him a coat.
That was the coat of arms.
That was an old, wasn't it? In troubled times, do something positive, panic. Oh, that was a couple of things I did for Valerie. A primitive dinosaur. I think it was a mother-in-law or something I represented. Mr. Dimetron or something.
Tomitrodon.
But
Oh, that was
very dramatic.
painting I tried to copy. This was Hilda's
her husband,
sideway at Heathfield. I sketched for some reason. And the little dog she had, I hated that Jack one. Valerie in his early days on
as far as
Rosalind's couch.
people that he meets,
You know, this ornamental stuff.
they're within the
Oh,
M25, so on their bus pass, they have
It got better later, I think, like that. I was just trying to draw Valerie in the younger days.
they go, you know,
I did a representation of the Bastille, or you know, the execution. I don't know why I did that.
pass. You know, of course I did when I was in Holland.
Good idea.
Imagine a pathway up to the back of the house. You've been to...
Yes, I have. Yes, up
you've
to
been there,
so
yeah.
it's steep at the back, isn't
And
it?
then this, I did that because,
That was Grandma. That was your mother's.
well, I got that now.
In
you
her
see,
kitchen.
yeah.
You've got it
Una
now.
had expressed, it was Una and Bill, wasn't it?
David.
Had expressed a desire for something like this. She remembered it with nostalgia, you know, the kitchen unit.
So you've got that at your house now.
Yeah.
I remember
These were, as a matter of, they were installed. We moved to that house in Kingsbury in 1930, and they were already in. This was a part, a standard sort of
But
installation.
that went to Ickenham, didn't
Yeah,
it?
beautiful. Yeah.
I remember it from Ickenham.
Because I said to Charlie this morning,
Yes.
and he was like,
Yes, you would.
5 Pinchester Close.
That's right. It came to me off that, didn't it? Yeah.
if I take it, I won't
Yes.
And as I say, Una fancied having
I
this,
said,
and Bill said, "Oh, I can make something as good as that."
along
So I did the drawing anyway.
almost bumper to bumper.
But in the end, he never did it. You know, it was all talk.
Yes,
Oh,
but
that's
it was
the tracing,
nostalgia.
yeah. You look at the back of it.
That was
tracing.
nostalgia for you, now, wasn't it? It wasn't for David.
Nostalgia. Then I got into amateur theatricals, and that was a carousel of characters. This is how they dressed for rehearsal.
Woman on the corner.
This is how they actually looked,
So she's sort of the second.
and this is how, as I say, those modern sort of jackets like that. But this was Mr. Snow. When I marry Mr. Snow, you know, that sort of thing. And actually, he was shorter than his leading lady. So it was a bit cruel. So I showed him for rehearsal, standing on
Put
the
them on an
box.
orange box.
A
Yeah.
bit of a dig, really. He was a lovely bloke.
Goes off on holiday.
Dave Williams,
Next time.
he played the villain always.
Oh.
Jigger Crane,
It's somewhere they went a couple of years ago.
anybody who played it. And then he was a gentle bloke. And I mean, he died of a heart attack in his 40s.
But,
Shame that.
Not next year, following
Yeah.
it. They're both 50 and they're looking at getting a
What?
cruise.
That one, that's a bit rude.
And I thought, well,
We did Orpheus in the Underworld,
Yeah.
Because that's
and Tony Weatherall.
got me out of.
Yeah.
He played Pluto, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I imagine him, you know, it's a bit rude, isn't it? But, you know, his tail coming out like an erection.
Their flights through.
Oh, why not?
And you say, why not? You wait till you're 96. The pyjama game.
You're saying it doesn't work anymore?
Yeah. Well, it makes me wonder
Well,
sometimes.
I've got that to look forward to.
No,
hasn't
I
happened
do
yet.
wonder sometimes, you know, and I think, given the right conditions, yeah,
You can take a pill for it, apparently.
not fall off the edge of the bed. Yeah.
Stops you rolling off,
I
doesn't it?
remember the pyjama game. He wore the trousers, she wore the jacket. I used to think it was quite erotic. I did draw them out because we did it. Yeah. What were these things?
Come off the motorway, you two.
Oh, this is part of Oliver. I imagine him
Go down the road to get to
Yes.
crowning him with a frying pan. And what have they got the dog there? I said he was barking mad. Your kennel or mine, you know, imagine it. And mating up there. He was another one who was shorter than his
Yeah.
leading lady.
You could have probably walked it instead. Yeah.
He didn't mind. I think he was a bit offended, but still. I found that was a way of getting at people. If you weren't too fond of them, you could get a little dig with a cartoon and realise the strength of it, yeah. Oh, I loved it. Oh, Geoffrey. You had this great jersey. I used to call him Geoffrey All Jersey. We did a play, Present or Laughter.
Rare that I don't have.
This thing, I was put.
The only- it's
Oh, I suppose I was in my 70s or 80s then. I could tell. I mean, by then I was near to retiring from it. But this girl, I felt that she didn't like being put with an older man. So I exaggerated, said, "You may regret your
Yeah.
Aged partner.
aged part this week, Kate. Would you rather have been carried and taken to the wood by Jigger? Do you remember in Carousel, Jigger take? He said, I wasn't going into the wood, he said I was coming out of it. It was worse. Now imagine being carried like that. But I never got, she was always a bit stuffy.
It's
Carousel, yeah, that was I made a temporary cover over it. That one's an old joke, that is, you know, the two stagehands standing there watching her. I exaggerated her bum, because this was based on Christine Davis, that's right. She looked like that. Here comes her famous top C now. And you remember there used to be a sort of, the old theatres had a little prompt there. And imagine it with a I love that thing. I pinched the joke, it's not my idea. He had a catapult. You imagine her, when he comes to a top C, he lets go, she goes, I like the idea of that. Yeah.
Make her shriek.
You notice that bums, I'm very bum conscious. Oh, Priscilla and I, we did a bed and breakfast twice. Somebody. And there she's working in the kitchen, and I acted like a timekeeper. And there was a lodger there, very scroppy, always wanted on time. That was Priscilla in the garden, I drew her. What's this one? Oh, Priscilla's family.
Was that my
They had
phone?
Blackdown House in Hampshire.
Yeah.
And there was a
Charlotte
statue.
She's got the message.
It was only about that size, and I imagined if that statue had been taken away. So I drew her eldest daughter taking the place of it.
It's all very sexual, Tom.
Very sexual, yeah. Well, I am sexual. I am. I'm very sexual. Even if I haven't got any petrol in the car. Oh, this one. Next door, they had Buff Orpingtons. And they said, imaginary, them living with the Buff Orpingtons, if they were friends of the family, that sort of thing, in the greenhouse, in the hammock. But do you know, one day a fox came in and went snap, snap, snap,
We took the lot.
and killed all three, just like that.
Last night.
Yes,
Didn't
they
wait
do.
to eat one.
No, they just do it for the fun of it or whatever.
Delicate.
We actually passed one on the road, it had been run over. Amazing, still some around. So I drew these things, and I imagined them at Christmas.
Next Friday, it's not the
And she was also very next door, this is next door to where I am now, more like that.
somebody's birthday.
She made friends with a limping crow, and they used to feed it. So I imagine the two Buff Orpingtons with the crow at Christmas, you know,
Daughters come up from Portsmouth.
all that sort of thing. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, and to see her dad.
Oh, I was proud of that. I did a drawing.
That weekend.
Piers and I went to France,
Well, this is it, you know, maybe you were.
and we had the use of Nicholas's place.
So she comes upstairs.
He was all something to do with the ballet. So he let us have the flat, you know, the home for a couple of weeks. And we just used to sit in the doorstep, feet in the street, and watch the traffic go. You know, it's that quiet. But it was lovely.
Because
staircase.
Yeah, underneath there.
Neil and Charlie were going to have this extension.
We're quite proud of that.
Have the extension done, as you know. I've got so much stuff.
And there was a drawing there I did, what I could see out the window. But now, this is Priscilla's youngest. She's got the same birthday,
Pushchair.
and I'm in competition with it, because until I came along, she had Priscilla at her... Oh, did I leave a handkerchief down there last night? My nose has been a run. She had Priscilla in her hands, you know.
We're going to hang.
So thereafter, yeah, did you pick up a handkerchief last night? Competition, you see, because she had her had Priscilla to herself, because the others were all busy. She's got a child by somebody, but they don't live with her, so she's quite independent. So imagine, you know, I always get the bums in somehow. Imagine her slipping down there and saying, "I've only got two hands," because that's how she lives now. She does up houses. She doesn't make them into homes, what I call homes. She just sort of does all the, you know, surplus stuff, I suppose, really. So I get little digs by doing cartoons of her. They're not all unflattering. She raves about her grandchildren, the things they've done, and I think about Mary and Hilda, you know, and all the things they won, you know. Most proficient student of the year, remember all that? But the only one who had to feel something in common was that her youngest son, Harry, he cycled a link to the Roman wall. So I imagined him, you know, going back in time, and the centurions there
on his
saying,
bicycle and the Roman.
yeah, if you get to Rome, give this tablet to my wife or something, you know. I try to reproduce the... Because they do have those towers at intervals. But what she loves is the fact that at least a couple of the people there have got one of these, they've graduated or something, and they wear a mortarboard. And I always call them a sort of, you know, silly hats. We didn't have anybody in the family who had something like that. And there he was actually doing it, yeah, Harry. His wife drove, not his wife, his mother drove behind him, and he drove through the night. Oh, look at that. Give over shoving, I was there first. You like that?
6 houses in there.
A bull. You're trying to read all this? I love that. I love all your romantic stuff. That you've seen.
Galleywood.
I tried to reproduce from a tiny little black and white.
You did a picture for me for Galleywood.
Yeah, it's on the back of that as well, yeah.
Which of course is no longer there.
I mean, it's just, no.
Ellen
The times I've been down there, I've been down to those stages where there was just rocks.
Well, we went there, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I was very pleased you did that. I'm pleased that you still keep this alive, this love of the past.
Don't drive that way very often.
But really, there's a lot of horror, a lot of tragedy in that place. Of course, you remember grandfather used to come home drunk and beat Gran up, from what I heard. And of course, in the process, when she was pregnant, she had these twin sons. And they were a bit short, you know.
They were epileptics.
Yeah, yeah. You remember all that?
Well, I know it because of the family
The crudity, though.
It was Frank and...
Frank and Charles, you remember all that? Yeah, yeah.